This week on our segment, Follow Me, Ako Luthame, I am so excited to welcome our guest, George Sabunidis, somebody whose life took an unexpected turn, which he never expected, I'm sure. And he ended up going to places and having experiences that he probably never could have imagined at the time. Welcome, George, to the Dora Papoutsakis show on Agapi Greek Radio.
Dora,
Ne.
I'm thrilled to be here. Happy-go-lucky, my heart out to you and to all your listeners on the show. It's wonderful to be here. Megalo Faristo.
You know, George, before we get started, and we've been talking for a few minutes offline, I just have to say right off the bat that I just love your energy. Your energy is incredible. It is so... Don't give me that look. You know what I'm talking about.
What energy?
It is great. I can't wait to share your story with our listeners. So George, as I spoke to you offline, this segment is about people who follow their hearts and have stories to tell that can inspire others to achieve their dreams or to give back to their communities. And your story is so incredible. I too, like you, I'm a federal civil servant and I love my job, my day in, day out, no issues with it. But this, Agapi Greek Radio, for me is my creative outlet. Can you give us in a condensed version, because I know you have a very big story, but in a condensed version, what was your path back in the day working for the federal government and where did you end up?
Well, I'm from Montreal. I went to McGill University, Concordia, did a couple of degrees there, mathematics, statistics. That's wonderful. Early 80s, I applied for a job as a statistician at Stats Canada here in Ottawa, and I got the job. Wow. Mr. Sampson, you have a job in the federal government. So I moved from Montreal to Ottawa, and I began working at Tunney's Pasture here in Ottawa at Stats Canada, Halloween Day of 1983. That's fine. And then in the late 70s, 80s, still every summer, being a musician in Greek, I would travel. As I was still working, I would take some time off, summers off, and travel to Greece, as I would be wont to do, and busk, play my guitar or bouzouki in restaurants. For tips,
I love that.
Busking like that. Exactly. Greek music. Greek became later on in 88 when I learned the bouzouki. But I've always been, in parallel to my academic life, I've always been a musician. Back in the late 60s, I saw the Beatles and I was in Montreal and I said, Mom, I want to learn the guitar. And she found me a wonderful guitar teacher at a local music store in Montreal. I began learning guitar and that developed. And then we moved to Greece in the early 70s. I began taking classical guitar lessons. What I'm saying is, in parallel, there was my academic life, mathematics, statistics, working for the federal government, and also my musical life. So mathematics, and musiki from both of my hearts.
I love
both
it.
of my hearts. Like that. So 80s, we're back to the 80s. I'm busking in Greece. I'm working as a young statistician at Stats Canada. Wonderful. I meet a wonderful musician in Ottawa. His name is, in Montreal, Gaston Bernard. And we began in the mid 80s, this group, this Greek duo called Ouzo Power. In the late 80s, Ouzo Power, which when Gaston and I went to Greece in the late 80s, like 1990 or 89, we were busking there, playing all over the islands in restaurants, conveyor belt restaurants. Amazing, as a duo.
How fun.
And Dora, we saw some t-shirts in a tourist restaurant emblazoned with Ouzo Power. So we stole the name. Don't tell anybody. Okay.
I won't tell all those little tourist stores on the islands. It's a great name.
It is. And so we began playing Canadian folk festivals. Ouzo Power, basically, rocked up or modified world music version of Rebetika.
Okay.
Whatever that is. A lot of fun with Greek music. We took Bob Dylan and did a Greek version of Bob Dylan
So
as
cool.
well. We took Madonna, Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan, Elvis Presley in Greek.
Oh,
In
wow. Greek. I definitely would want to hear some of that. That's for sure. But let me think here. So you started Ouzo Power. How did we end up? Because up to now, our listeners are listening and they have no idea where you're going to end up. So let's keep going with your story.
Here's the secret. Neither did I have any idea where I would end up with, by the way.
I bet.
So I've been working at StatsCan in the 80s. 1990 rolls around, George, do the math. And I thought, no, I want to go back to university. So I left the federal government, took a leave of absence, left my coffee cup there. And for 6-7 years, I went to Toronto, U of T, to do my PhD.
Nice.
In mathematical statistics. PhD, by the way, stands for Pizza Hut delivery.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're very smart. Now a little intimidated here.
Okay. So I got my doctorate, means that now I can count to 4. As a musician, you only need to count to 4. Sorry about that.
I love it.
So good. And then so 97, I come back from Toronto, back to Ottawa StatsCan, the same cup of coffee and the same desk with some fungus on it. No.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm scared.
StatsCan, wonderful employer, as you know, federal government, terrific employer. So 97, 98, and then I meet a wonderful lady from Beijing, and we are together, we're involved. She's from Beijing, and I tell her, you know, I'm a singer, I sing in various languages. I'd like to learn a song from Asia, maybe from China. I don't have anything in my repertoire from the Far East. So she selected a traditional Chinese folk song called not The Girl from Ipanema, no, The Girl from Da Ban Town.
Okay.
Which is a quintessential, very well-known folk song in all of China.
Okay.
She taught me that. It took me 2 months. Every little Chinese syllable and word like that, 2 months. And then in about 98, 99, I was invited in Ottawa at Centrepoint Theatre by the local Chinese community to take part in a variety show with other Chinese local artists as the only foreigner singing this Chinese song.
That is so cool, George. You were welcomed into their community just like that.
Right. And that Chinese song in front of 2,000 strong Chinese people in Ottawa brought the house down. They were applauding every literally 15 seconds to this tall, gangly Greek Canadian singing his heart out with guitar, singing this traditional Chinese folk song. And it was a paradigm shift for me. I realized, Vre Yorgo, I have just stumbled and become involved in a huge, not alien, but new, foreign, gigantic culture and music. And I decided to learn some more Chinese songs. And you know what? I've never told anyone this. I was working Dora.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, here we go.
Don't tell anybody, okay? So
okay.
I was working in, when was it? 1999, in a Greek restaurant in Ottawa.
Okay.
Which shut down. It closed all of a sudden. I was playing there every weekend. It shut down and I was despondent because I love performing, table hopping and all of that.
Yeah.
So I was quite despondent. So I came back home. I had already begun learning Chinese songs. So I decided to compose. Are you sitting down?
I
My
am.
very first Chinese song called, I'm going to start bawling my eyes out here. Jesus. I am 我是一个歌手.
Oh my God.
I am a singer.
Oh my gosh, I
I
love
wrote this
it.
song called I Am a Singer in Mandarin.
Wow. And I can see the emotion coming out of you. It must have been quite a moment for you to be able to do that and to accomplish that.
It was. And you should still be sitting in your seat, because you know what happened. Poetic, whatever, justice. The year after, this Chinese restaurant with Beijing cuisine shut down. The following year, can you believe it? This is no myth making. It's all true. It became a Greek. No. Sorry. It was first a Greek restaurant.
Yes.
It was Greek. George, get your facts right. It was first Greek. Then the following year, are you sitting down? It turned into a Beijing cuisine restaurant.
No kidding. And then did you go back and sing Chinese there?
Well, maybe a couple of times.
That is so cool.
But exactly. So I did this show, as I mentioned, this Chinese New Year song show. I sang this one song, and then I decided with my little threesome Chinese friends and myself, we produced a large formal Chinese concert the year later, featuring myself. In June of 2000, in a 400-seat, the National Library of Canada, a formal concert, sit-down concert. And who did we invite along with 4 other guests? Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
We invited the Greek Embassy Culture Office, and guess what? The Chinese Embassy Culture Office.
Nice.
And they were all sitting side by side in the front row.
Wow, I bet both of them had no idea what to expect, and both of them just were floored, I'm sure.
Yes. No, it went very well. Myself and I did invite some other guest artists as well. Fantastic. This was June 2000. Do the math. How many years ago is that? I don't want to do the math. So 2 months later, in August, I get a phone call. Sorry, Greece, not from the Greek embassy, but from the Chinese embassy. I get a call from the cultural attaché's office. And he said to me, the message was not, go west, young man. It was, go east, middle-aged man.
You're so funny. Oh my gosh. So then hold on. I got a quote here that I read that I just loved. So our listeners can probably understand that you were invited to go to China, right?
That was it. That was my first invite. Official invitation.
Invite. Yeah. So I'm going to read a quote here that I read in an interview that you recently gave, where you talked about the first time you flew to China. You said it was a eureka moment for a Greek looking down on this country of mythical proportions and with a culture stretching back in time in equal proportions as Greece. It was one of the most profound moments of my life. Tell me about this. Wow.
It was. In October of 2000, I accepted the Chinese embassy invitation, prepared my couple of songs, and I took off with Air Canada flight in mid-October of 2000 to, we're now talking about, that's right, China, from Canada, whatever, 14-hour flight. Eventually, we're flying over China, and the pilot, the intercom comes on. The the clouds, the airplane breaks through the cloud cover, and I see below me, ladies and gentlemen, we have just entered mainland China. So I look outside the window and I see this gargantuan mass, this brown land mass stretching infinitely into the proverbial horizon. And I realize, George, you're a Greek and you're just entering the mythical grandeur and the dynastic history of China, stretching back in the same cultural glory as your own country.
Incredible.
So it was just overwhelming, overwhelming.
You know, and not just as a, let's say, a tourist, that you made a decision that one day you wanted to go visit China, as an invited guest to go and perform.
Official guest to be performing at 2 huge international arts festivals featuring artistic groups, musician groups, dance troupes from all over Europe, the world, South America. And I was the single Canadian representing.
Wow.
I think they put me to representing Canada and Greece
together. So at this point in time, are you still singing Chinese songs, or are you now, have you started singing Greek songs but with Chinese language?
No, the Greek songs in Chinese came much later, more than a decade later, in 2012.
Okay.
But now we're talking about 2000, and I was singing, for example, Canada's very well-known folk song from the prairies, Red River Valley, in Mandarin.
In Mandarin. Wow. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how now you've decided that you're going to bring Greek music, Greek music and Greek songs to the Chinese people.
Yeah. And so I started, this is absolutely, one thing leads to the other. That was 2000. So great. Thank you, Dora. I went to China played at these 2 big international festivals, went very well. I came back, minding my own business in my living room. A Greek Canadian minding their own business as a Greek singing in Chinese. In my living room, sure, I've been to China, great. Guess what happened on my birthday? Literally July 13th of the following year, 2001, I get up and I listen on the news and I almost fell out of my chair. Beijing, it was announced, from Russia, from the IOC, from Moscow, had just won the Beijing Olympic Summer Games for 2008.
Nice.
And I did the math. George, Beijing 2008. Athens 2004. George, you're probably the only Greek on the planet, if not the galaxy, who sings in Chinese.
Yes.
I better get myself to the Athens closing ceremonies in August of 2004 to sing a Greek Chinese song while the mayor of Athens is handing over the Olympic flag to the mayor of Beijing.
No way.
That was my dream.
Wow. What an incredible, did this happen?
So can you imagine? I'm minding my own business in my living room in Ottawa. As a good civil servant, I've been to China. And suddenly what I'm doing as a Greek singing in Chinese suddenly becomes international.
Incredible.
The Athens Games and the Beijing. Can you imagine?
Everything's lining up, right? Everything is lining up because you're putting things into the universe and it's all lining up for you.
I mean, exactly. And then, so so then I start writing letters of proposals to the Greek Ministry of Culture, the Beijing Ministry of Culture, to invite me in 2 to 3 years, in 2004, at the Athens Olympic Games. Fine, great, that's in progress. The following year, in 2002, I'm back in China performing at another festival. I find myself in South China, in Canton Province, with some Chinese modern dancers in their community. I wake up one day in Canton Province, I hear some English voices outside. What? English voices in China. I have my competition. I've got some competition. Anyway, I go out and I meet, there's 2 vans, English-speaking folks. I go up and I say, boy, they're Canadian. This is a Canadian professional documentary film company. Where are they from? No, it's impossible. They're from my hometown.
No.
They're from Montreal. They're a documentary film company filming a modern dance, some kind of a project. Fine. I meet the director, Daniel Cross. We go out for dinner. We're both Montrealers. And I whip out my guitar like Elvis Presley, just for fun.
Yeah.
And I start singing, and all the Chinese in the restaurant, they come out of the woodwork like Elvis, and they just sit around, and Daniel Cross is floored.
Wow.
And I tell him about my project, about bringing Greece and China together at the Olympic Games, and he decided he's got to make a television documentary.
Of course he does. I would say the same thing, George.
What do you think, Dora?
I think it's fabulous. And I think I saw it. It was on, I haven't seen the documentary, but I saw online that you have a documentary. Was it on the CBC?
Everybody thinks it's the CBC, but guess what? Sorry, CBC. No offense. Sorry. Read my lips. CTV.
CTV.
It was CTV.
Awesome.
Exactly. So Daniel Cross brought the idea of this Chairman George documentary of this Greek Canadian who wants to bring China and Greece together at the Athens Olympic Games. He brought that as a proposal to a CTV Documart Producers Conference in Banff, I think later in 2002, and it won first prize.
Wow.
So we began filming.
Fantastic. What a story you have, George. It's incredible. Before we go to break,
I
have another question. How rewarding has it been for you to be able to introduce to the Chinese people our beautiful Greek music, and how have they responded to you about our culture?
Fantastic. All the 40 times I've traveled to China, to 25 cities, even before my album of Greek songs in Chinese, all I have ever performed in China has been side by side Chinese, Greek songs on bouzouki and Chinese songs on guitar. And they love that music because the Greek bouzouki is very reminiscent of another instrument in Northwest China called the dongbula, which looks like the bouzouki. The Chinese love to hear the Greek bouzouki because it's similar to what they've already heard, like that. And then in 2012, 2014, we did a huge tour of China of Greek songs in Chinese, and it was very successful. The Chinese adore, but even more importantly, the Chinese completely respect and are in awe of Greek music and Greek culture and the Greek history as equal
incredible
to their own.
That is incredible. It's so nice to hear. I hope that the Greek people respect the Chinese history in the same way, because I mean, the histories are incredible, ancient, and amazing. Yeah, parallel, definitely parallel.
Exactly.
But let's go to a break because we definitely need to take a break. Now, on our way to the break, do you want to take us with song? I would love to hear something.
Sure.
I would love to hear something.
Okay. This is a song I'll be doing at my next concert with Uzo Power. This song, it's not a rebetiko song. It's not so much a laiko song. It's almost like an underhanded, I wouldn't even say political. It's a protest song from 1973. And on the surface, it looks almost, sounds even cartoonish or silly, but it goes deeper than that. And right now with the idiosyncratic temper tantrums of a certain pathogen, which shall remain unnamed.
Yes.
Temper tantrums.
No names mentioned. No names mentioned. Okay.
This song expressed in 1973, if people can recall back then, it expressed the Greeks' disdain and hopelessness at the Greek dictatorship that was in power in Greece at that time. And so the songwriter, whom we actually met, Yannis Markopoulos, composed this song. I'll just sing a couple of verses of it. And it's called Tarzan or Tarzan.
Okay.
Tarzan. Who hasn't heard of Tarzan?
I'm very familiar with this song, I think. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, just a short itsy bitsy or Tarzan. Θα πάω στη ζούγκλα με το Ταρζάν, θα την περνάω φίνα. Θα πάω στη ζούγκλα με το Ταρζάν, θα φύγω σε ένα μήνα κι αν θα με φάνε τα αγρία θηρία, θα με γράψουν και στην ιστορία πως με φάγανε τα ζώα κι όχι τώρα του αιώνα. Θα πάω στη ζούγκλα με το Ταρζάν, το παιδικό μου φίλο, παρέα με τον ελεφάντα, να μην μου δίνουν ξύλο κι αν θα με φάνε τα αγρία θηρία, θα με γράψουν και στην ιστορία πως με φάγανε τα ζώα κι όχι τώρα του αιώνα.
And we're back after the break with the phenomenal Chairman George. And I have a question. Why Chairman George?
When I met Daniel Cross from I Steal Film completely by chance, you see, all these things led one after the other. It was just unbelievable. And I'm doing what Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player, said. When a journalist asked him, Wayne Gretzky, how are you so good? How do you know where the puck is? He said, I go where the puck ain't.
Oh.
Go where the puck ain't. So this is a message. I mean, Greek singing in Chinese, I mean, that would never be advice from some promoter or agent. It's your heart.
Absolutely.
It's your heart that tells you. if you want to do something in life that comes from your passion, if it's in a relationship or your art or whatever passionate pursuit that you're doing, even if it sounds out of whack or crazy, go ahead. And Angelos Tsarouchas said the very same thing. If something comes to mind that's exciting and weird and amazing, go and do it, because
just do it.
Will happen. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. So for me, you know, we're kind of going on this sort of tangent, and I love it. For musicians who are listening to you right now, what would you say to them as words of wisdom from, you know, coming from a place of experience like that?
Well, just as I've said, I mean, go with your passion. If you want to do something unusual or imaginative or what comes natural to you, go with it.
Because it may be difficult. Let's say you and I, you know, or me, let's say I'm working day in, day out, and yeah, I have you know, I really like, let's say, planning parties. I love planning parties. I plan my kids' birthday parties and I have so much fun doing it. And people tell me I'm really good at it. But to take that one additional step to say, I'm going to leave everything behind, right? I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 secure paying job to go ahead and do what is passionate. I mean, it's for some people, it's just a dream until they step into that reality, right?
It is, exactly. And what allowed me, Dora, being part of the Canadian Federal Public Service, is that I was able to take these leave with income averaging. So every year I was allowed, as a public servant, taking 4 months max a year, lower salary, averaged, and go to China. You know, so it was
so lucky. We are very lucky to have that. I do the same thing. I don't do it for any other reason other than I want to go to Greece in the summer. So I do use that to go and take care of and see my family and take care of my kids. But yeah, absolutely. Just try and what you're saying is just try to make it work. Try to make it work.
Exactly. I mean, go where the puck ain't. Don't necessarily look for outlandish ideas that you and to say, I'm going to do that because it's weird, nobody's done it. To me, it came naturally.
Yes, one thing followed the other and it led you to this path. What would you say, what would you say so far has been your best memory or your best experience in this genre, working with the Chinese people?
I mean, it was certainly, one of them was, there is a lot. I think in probably, for example, the Hutong. So in Beijing, there are these little narrow streets off the beaten track in urban Beijing called little residential alleyways. So I love to walk these little alleyways called Hutong or Hutongzi and meet locals just in the little narrow streets, bring my guitar and sit down and just play them a couple of songs and even just chat about life and their life one-on-one like that. Very, very personal. That was a highlight for me. Shooting the documentary, playing at the Olympic Games, the Olympic Village for Olympic athletes, like that. I mean, but
I feel like your heart is full. I feel like your heart is full. Would you say that your heart is full?
Yes.
Full of love, full of joy, full of experience, full of, people appreciating your art.
Exactly. I mean, I love bringing or connecting people. I love connecting people and bringing people together. it may not even be me performing for them, so to speak, but bringing them together to have good feelings and communications and introducing people together, and cultures, bringing cultures together was for me the epitome, bringing the Greek and Chinese cultures uniquely together all over China, definitely.
Well, George, thank you so much for spreading the joy of Greek music around the world. I wish you every continued success, and I look forward to following you in your career and everything that's going on. Later in our show under community news, I want everybody to know that we are going to have an announcement from George and some stuff that's happening around Canada. But will you lead us out? I think all of our listeners mostly would like to hear a Greek song in Mandarin.
Wow. A Greek song in Mandarin. George, have you practiced your Greek song in Mandarin? Have I been practicing?
I hope so, George.
Let's see. Okay. This is from my album, Bringing the Greek Party to China. This is a quintessential Greek rebetiko. It is called Viva Rebetes. In Mandarin, it's called Ganbei Pangyo, which means cheers friends.
Okay.
Ganbei Pangyo, or Viva Rebetes. Dora, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been delightful, full of love, and a lot of fun.
Thank you, George.
Okay. One, two, three. Μ' αρέσει το πιωτό, μ' αρέσει να το πίνω, να με δω. Ναι, σε μπέκικο καλό, το κάθε πόνο σβήνω και ξεχνώ. Viva Rebetes, viva παιδιά, μες στη ρεβέτη τη βραδιά. Παίξε μπουζούκι μου κι όχι πολλά, λίγα χρόνια και καλά. Ganbei Papoutsakis, Pangyo Ganbei, Wamendu I, Mayo Shiwei, Tanchi Pipa, Wadutsu Anwei, Jim Yedwan's and Earthwing. Opa!
Opa! Ευχαριστώ, George.
Parakalo. And anybody who wants to join me on Instagram, Chairman George, no problem.
Excellent. I will put all of your information on our show so everybody can follow you. Thank you so much, George, once again.
Thank you, Dora, on your show. Thank you so much. Much love from Ottawa. Christo.